first bedroom exploits to her chilling punishments, the pirate queen Qing had one of the most dramatic lives in history. She was China's preeminent pirate queen, who sailed the high seas in her own name. But even after all of that, she still saved her most jaw-dropping move for last. We don't know Qing exact birthday, but we do know that she entered the world in 1775 in Guangzhou, China. However, fair warning here, Qing lived a long time ago, and one of the most important sources on her life comes from quite a biased viewpoint. A man she held hostage for 3 months. So maybe take the more wild stories about her with a silo of salt. As we'll see, this lady had a lot of enemies. As a street worker in China in the 1700s, she would have been seen as low class and judged for her profession. Begging the question, how this girl go from a house of ill repute to the helm of a pirate fleet? Well, Qing had a little help from her friends, or maybe it would be better to say her friend with benefits. While hustling, Qing met a strapping suitor named King Chen I, the famous bad boy pirate. He immediately fell for this girl, and, according to some sources, went to disturbing lengths to get her for himself. In one story, he was so obsessed with Qing that he forced her to leave her day job by burning down the house where she worked. Extreme, but hey, it worked. Soon enough, the couple were sailing the high seas. Why did Qing go so crazy for Qing? Some say that the answer is exactly what you'd expect. Qing was such a beauty that Qing just had to marry her. Other sources, however, insist that Qing had less superficial reasons. He rightly recognized Qing's incredible cunning and just knew she'd be an amazing business partner. No matter the reason, Qing and Qing I got hitched in 1801. After marrying Qing, the girl pirate's lifestyle was basically guaranteed. Her new husband came from a family of famous pirates, and over the years, he built up such an intense reputation for his naval conquests that he gave himself a royal moniker. He basically called himself King Chen, the best pirate ever, and people just let him because he was such a big deal. Qing had no intention of being eye candy on her pirate husband's arm. When Qing first got married to her husband, who by the way had a pretty awesome nickname of the Golden Dragon of the Imperial Staff, she had some strict conditions her man would have to meet. Qing demanded an equal marriage, gained 50% control of her husband's stuff, and becoming an active partner in Qing's piracy. Over the span of just a few years, Qing and Qing I assembled an enormous fleet of various pirate ships. They cleverly turned old rivals into teammates, uniting pirate gangs, including a bunch of Qing's far-flung relatives, into one juggernaut of a fleet. By 1804, the Red Flag Fleet, as it was called, was the biggest pirate fleet ever seen in China. In 1807, Qing's husband, Qing I, died while he was in Vietnam. While Qing may have wanted to grieve her loss, being a single woman on the high seas was a precarious position. Qing stifled her feelings and got to work schmoozing with her in-laws. She managed to win over her husband's nephew and cousins. It was a clear sign to Qing's enemies. Even though she'd lost her husband, she was far from alone. No matter how she solidified her power, we can all agree that Qing proved herself to be an incredible pirate. With the Red Fleet under her control, Qing immediately became a legendary leader. She launched her ships against coastal towns all across China, crushed any resistance, held people for ransom, demanded tributes, and defeated the Chinese government countless times. Instead of hiding from the authorities, Qing sailed right up and met them. Not only did she valiantly forge ahead despite the dangerous situation, she actually beat her country's government. And that wasn't all. During her siege, she managed to take over 60 ships from her nemesis fleet. On the one hand, it's important to admire Qing's resolution and ambition. On the other hand, we have to recognize that she had quite a dark side. She also kidnapped multiple sailors, and when they trudged onto her ship, Qing presented them with a devastating choice. Option A, they could join her team and help Qing swashbuckle her way through the seas. Option B, they could get executed immediately. And this would not be a merciful end. Qing would tie her captives to the ship's floor and mercilessly club them until they perished. One of Qing Shi's major actions as pirate queen was the code of rules that she imposed on the pirates under her command. Among other things, pirates couldn't disobey orders, they couldn't steal from their own allies, and if they took captives as their wives, they couldn't abuse them or cheat on their new wives. If they dared to defy Qing Shi's orders, well, there was hell to pay. Qing Shi was serious about treating women well. If her men dared to harm their new wives or injure the ship's hostages, Qing would treat them to a taste of their own medicine. She would punish her misbehaving pirates with floggings, corporal punishment, and in extreme cases, she'd even execute her own men. For her own sailors, her preferred method wasn't walking the plank or beating them to oblivion. She just straight up beheaded them. Yikes. Qing Shi wasn't just a bad girl in her professional life. Her personal life was absolutely wild, too. After Qing Chen passed, Qing Shi took a new lover, and to say he was an inappropriate suitor would be an extreme understatement. Qing's new man, Chiang Po, had been her second in command for years, but their employer-employee power difference was far from the diciest part of their romance. In one version, Qing Shi and her husband, Chiang I, stole Chiang Po when he was a child. After they abducted him, they raised him as their own son. Now, this is definitely better than being mean to the poor kid, but on the other hand, it obviously makes Qing Shi's later relationship with Chiang Po highly questionable. And that's putting it lightly. After years of working together as pirate lovers, they wanted to make their relationship official. They planned to tie the knot, only to learn that they couldn't. Surprise, surprise, their dicey history had come back to haunt them. You see, Qing Shi was still recognized as Chiang Po's mother in the eyes of Chinese law. When she later took an offer of amnesty, Qing Shi requested that this mother-son status be removed so that she could legally marry Chiang Po. The provincial governor effectively said something like, "Oh, that's weird, but sure, let's undo that, so you crazy kids can get hitched." With that settled, the marriage went forward. Despite their rocky romantic start, Qing Shi and Chiang Po seemed to be a very happy couple. They were married for more than 10 years and even welcomed 2 children, a son and a daughter. Their working relationship also continued to succeed. Chiang Po regularly took over as captain when Qing needed some me time and always supported his wife's ambitions. But some sources say the marriage was less star-crossed lovers and more business arrangement. Some people think that Qing Shi got together with Chiang Po for a darker reason. She knew she had the upper hand in the relationship. Chiang Po had grown up thinking as Qing as his superior, so he'd be easy to control. Plus, he was illiterate and allegedly simple-minded. So was it a marriage of the minds or a savvy business arrangement? The answer may lie in an important moment when Chiang Po's deficient intelligence royally screws up Qing Shi's plans. But more on that later. In 1809 and 1810 were very busy years for Qing Shi. With all her pillaging and raiding, she'd become a huge thorn in the side of the Chinese authorities, and they were desperate to put her away. They even partnered with the British in an effort to take down Qing Shi. But guess what? Qing Shi proved her mettle against the British when she successfully captured 7 British sailors and 1 official from the East India Company in 1809. We can only imagine how big a smirk she had when it came time to ransom those hostages. Even the combined forces of China and Britain couldn't catch her. But Qing Shi's time in the sun wouldn't last forever. Qing Shi's illustrious career as a pirate queen hit a snag at the Battle of the Tiger's Mouth. On January 4, 1810, Qing Shi was in a desperate situation. She had come out swinging so many times before. But today, the Portuguese small ships managed to sneak up to her vessels and bombard them with cannons. Qing ships fell back to the Xiangshan River, leading the Portuguese captain to block the river mouth and prevent Qing's fleet from leaving. The great pirate queen was officially trapped. At this point, Qing Shi knew that for the very first time in her decades at sea, she had officially lost. After getting stuck in the river for 2 long weeks, some sources even say 3. Even China's most fierce pirates simply couldn't figure out a way to escape the situation. And so, with her head held high, Qing Shi finally surrendered to the Portuguese. This ignoble end to her seafaring career made everyone's jaws drop, but there were even more surprises in store. The Qing dynasty said that if Qing Shi's pirate fleet surrendered their weapons, the entire group, which at this point included thousands of pirates, would receive pardons. But somehow, Qing managed to make the Chinese authorities agree to a stunning condition. She'd only call time on her tenure as a pirate queen if she got to keep all the wealth that she'd accumulated over the years. What a deal! Justice for Qing Shi. There's a little detail about the fight with the Portuguese that far too many people ignore. You see, during this decisive battle, Qing Shi had actually trusted her command to her trusty co-captain, her lover, adopted son, Jiang Po. His lesser intelligence might have contributed to this failure. The loss became a source of contention in their relationship. But just wait. This odd couple had a far bigger complication in their near future. Despite Jiang Po's enormous failure, Qing Shi stood by him. The couple remained married until 1822, when tragedy struck. That year, Jiang Po tragically perished at sea. At the time of his demise, he was just 39 years old. This meant that Qing Shi was now a widow 2 times over, and that she'd have to navigate the harsh world all on her own. After all this drama, you'd expect Qing Shi's wildlife to basically be over. As always, this girl lived to defy expectations. Qing realized that being a widow and lying on a pile of money gets boring after a while. Soon enough, she returned to her illicit ways. In her retirement, Qing Shi opened up a gambling house. Oh, and she also traded opium on the down low. After years of taking on the Chinese government, the East India Trading Company, and the Portuguese Navy, it might have baffled some people to think that Qing Shi passed peacefully, but that's exactly what she did. In 1844, when Qing Shi was an impressive 69 years old, she breathed her last. Despite her wild life, her passing was very calm. Her family surrounded her when she perished. Those of you familiar with the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise may vaguely recall a minor Chinese woman who was one of the great pirate lords present in Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. Identified as Mrs. Chang, this character was a reference to Qing Shi herself. While Qing Shi is the most famous Asian woman pirate, much of her life is still murky. In fact, we don't even know Qing Shi's true name. The moniker Qing Shi simply means that she was the widow of Qing Chen, her first husband. Despite her nickname as the Terror of South China, it's difficult not to praise Qing Shi's accomplishments. Based on the huge number of pirates that Qing Shi commanded in her heyday, and the fact that she managed to retire in the peacefully after her pirate career, it's been accepted by many historians that Qing Shi was the most successful pirate in human history.